You're listening to Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran Podcast.
Now introducing your host of Every Day's a Saturday USMC Veteran, the one-man show, Brian Roof.
Hey, what's going on, friends and fam? Thank you guys so much for joining another great day and another great interview. And we are getting too close to the end of season 2. We're about to wrap things up. The season will end on Veterans Day, and I think I'm gonna drop 2 interviews on that day, and then we're gonna go ahead and close it out. But it will give you guys an opportunity to kind of catch up on all the different interviews and episodes that we have from season 1 and season 2. We're up to now 103 interviews. This is crazy. We're moving right along, and by the time we end, I think we'll have about 105, 106. So you guys will have plenty to catch up on if you would like to catch up on it. And also go check out the website, edasUSMCvet.com. That's where you can catch up with all the different shows. And also I do put all the different nonprofits that we've had on the show, as well as veteran-owned businesses as well. So you can go check that out. Go give them some love. And all right, so we're going to go ahead and get on with our next guest and not keep her waiting any longer. She was medically retired from the Navy after 17 years, and she married a Navy veteran as well who retired from the Navy. They decided to start a nonprofit, and here to talk all about it, it's called Mended Sparrow. We have Shahnaz Deyette. I probably messed it up, but welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome to the show. And I usually mess people's names up. Hope I didn't destroy yours too bad. We did go over it a little bit, and I probably still messed it up.
You're all good. You won't be the first.
All right. Well, hey, welcome to the show. And now it's your opportunity to kind of let us all know who you are. Tell us about yourself. What made you end up joining the Navy? And when you got out, how was that separation life for you? And, what brought you guys to start up a nonprofit? And, how did you end up marrying a Navy veteran as well? And how did that all work out? So floor is totally yours now.
Gosh, that's like a power punch answer. I was like, okay, all right.
Lots.
I think the thing, probably the start of it, if anything, having joined the military was, and this could probably resonate to a lot of people. Maybe they didn't come from the best household. Definitely came from an abusive household. So it was just the Navy really, in a sense, not only to serve, but it just gave a illumination of just protection. Feeling protected, the camaraderie, the family that it
felt
had.
More like that was your family nucleus, right? Like,
yeah, and that's,
with that family,
and that's what definitely drew me into it. So I joined in. I had my parents actually sign when I was 17. So it was 95, December of 95. Went to boot camp. It was cold, which ironically, my oldest son. He went to boot camp as well in December, literally a day after my enlistment.
And you didn't warn him, like, hey, I don't know, maybe wait till like January, February,
So yeah, neither of my middle child too. He went also to the Navy for boot camp up there in Chicago. So he went like February. It was like no difference. So it was cold no matter what.
Yeah. Where was it? Where was the boot camp at?
Chicago.
Oh yeah,
Great Lakes.
Damn. Oh yeah, definitely cold around that time of the year.
So, but I will say is probably now I'm going to probably get both the boys' confusions a little bit, but I believe the first one we ended up we were supposed to take a flight, but I guess the weather was bad up there, and so with my oldest son, we were like, okay, all right. We went ahead and like it kept pushing the delay of the flight. And so we ended up getting in the truck and driving. We literally had 30 minutes to spare. It was like a 16-hour drive, 30 minutes to spare before the ceremony commenced.
Cutting it close.
So, but we made it.
Sitting
which
down, just catching your breath, huh?
yeah, I mean, what you do for your kids, you're like, it's okay. We're driving all night. So, but
Going through the blizzard.
yeah. So
Uh,
going in the military, definitely, and of course the things that, as there's the good, there's the bad. Um, I was definitely one of those of the victim of of rape.
mm,
Gentleman was found guilty. And so from there, that kind of built the aspects of that distrust.
gosh. How
Um,
how far in were you already at this point in
I
time?
was
And
only
what job did
19.
you guys yeah, gosh.
I
So
was I just got in. You figure 95 for December, and then the incident occurred in 96.
gosh,
And it
man.
was on my very first ship. So from there, it was definitely, this is a time period where women were starting to be allowed on at this time non-combatant ships,
All right,
and
right, yeah.
and it was an oiler. So from there, it was definitely a just different perspective of the world. Uh, I think from then on, it was more of a survival of the fittest in the content of now really women making their mark, they're paving their way, because it was a man's world. Um, but at the same time, too, I mean, it still brought opportunities regardless for women. But going through with it, as time went on, I definitely, I think I've experienced four different types of natural disasters.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so one was, this is when I was in, I'll tell one of them, was a earthquake in Northridge, Northridge, LA earthquake.
Yeah, yeah.
But this was back in, I think it was in middle school, and probably
Early
90, maybe 90.
90s,
Yeah,
early 90s.
early
Mhm.
90s and early 90s. And I remember peeking out of the bedroom of my grandparents' guest house, and I remember peeking out, and in there, um, I looked out, and this is probably at you're young, you don't know any better, and you figure, listen, why are we going to peek on a glass, right? Through the blinds, and I saw like the water, like the cement, like you thought this was Universe Studios, like literally the sidewalks were overlapping each other, and then
Yeah,
the
that was
pool
a bad one.
yeah, and the pool was like literally becoming like a tsunami. And then the palm trees looked like they were like medieval catapults, like bending.
Wow,
And
yeah.
so from that, it was my grandparents' house ended up like splitting in half, like literally a big old crack down their house.
Gosh, you guys were right on the fault line there, shit.
I,
Gosh, damn.
So that was definitely an experience. And I remember the dog was trying to like jump over the cement, trying to walk over, but it was just like, oh my goodness. And then
Wow.
another one was when I was stationed in Italy. We had a flood, and it completely wiped out the first floor. And we were, I get a call, like in the morning, I get a call from my neighbor, and she's like, there's water on the floor. And I'm like, I'm like, I'll just get a towel. And she's like,
Clean this what is it like, wow. Just throw
and
a
she
towel
kind
on
of,
it.
yeah. And she's like, no, a towel's not going to work. You need
You need some buckets.
And I remember, the water level, and this is like really early in the morning. And I remember seeing my dog on the outside, and he was like, if I didn't get out there, he would have been drowning. And so I went to open the front door. You would have thought the Navy way of hello, water level is going to be a little higher on the outside as it is in the inside. Luckily, it wasn't too crazy. But the funny part was I had a flower pot come surfing in through the front door.
Oh gosh.
It so,
You just, hello, come on in.
so I closed it, and in my mind, I'm like, that was so stupid, and then
Some
I had
daisies waving and stuff.
no, pretty much. I would have been, So I jumped out the kitchen window and jumped into the water and went
Wow.
around to get the dog. The current was so strong that you could see to the left side of you. It was pulling cars down the
That's
stream.
wild. Dang.
And so got the dog, but I think the biggest struggle was going upstream. Downstream was the easiest. Going upstream, I mean, luckily I was still able to touch the ground, but it was still up to chest level coming through and so I popped the dog into the house, and my kids were all up, both my boys were upstairs, and then of course the cat decided to have kittens, and so the cat and the dog don't get along, and so
Oh gosh.
it's like, what is this? Cat kept bringing the babies in the bed, and I'm just like,
Oh,
okay, hold on, But we had Red Cross come through, but Red Cross was like, they were only taking people with like serious medical issues or people like who were ready to have babies, and we stayed there. But they did say that if the water level got any higher going to the second floor, that they were going to completely evacuate us. So we stayed there. They checked on us, making sure we had food and water, and then we just waited out until the water receded.
that's crazy. And so, I mean, the cleanup had to be really bad after that, though. I mean, mud everywhere. I mean, that was.
It was a lot of people. We joked around that we eventually would find all our small stuff like at the end of the rainbow, because after all said and done, there was a rainbow. Like, hey, we're gonna find our stuff all down there.
It's all washed up. There's big old pile
along with all the cars. And
yeah. Well, we guess everybody starts shooting. Hey, found
yay,
it.
rainbow yard sale.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So, and then another time is when like we had a tornado, and this was in Virginia of all places, and the tornado just out of nowhere, and it was like one of the very first tornadoes in Suffolk that just decided to go wipe out a neighborhood and wipe out a gym. And what was crazy is that it was literally 5 minutes from my house, and we were on the track of destruction, and then it just boop, jumped somewhere else.
Gosh.
So that was the other one. And then the other one was when I was more of a younger kid. It was a fire, and so, the fire.
You might be experienced with some natural disaster. How do you react?
Well, I guess in that moment of time, it's just either, I don't know. It's one of those, if you lived out of it, you're just going to have to make humor of it.
Right. Yeah. No
and I think that one is what was so close to us that the flames were like flaring through the fence posts. So they were just kind of peeking through with the flames. It was, if somebody didn't wake us up, we would have been completely engulfed in that.
Gosh. All right. So since you've been
now that we have that,
since you've been through 4, now we could do something with this. Which one is the absolute worst? Which one would you say, gosh dang, I never want to experience that natural disaster ever again?
I think the one that was the scariest was probably the earthquake. Because
nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
No, there was. You couldn't. I mean,
yeah,
I knew,
yeah.
Okay, we had a flood. At least I knew how to swim.
Right.
At least, I knew there was going to be some sort of boat coming to get me, or something. But even I think the earthquake one was probably the worst, because just to peek outside and see what it did to the trees and the pavement. I mean, and I think it made billions of dollars in damage.
Oh, hell yeah.
Freeways destroyed. I'm like,
that one was a bad one.
Yeah, and I think it was a 7.3, I think.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad one. I don't remember exactly the scale it was, but I think it was over a 7.
Yeah, and so I think that was probably the one that was just kind of like, but you could just, all it took is like one wrong crack, and you could just come down in a hole, in a pot, like a sinkhole, which there were plenty of those.
Yeah, I remember that one specifically, and then the San Francisco one. I remember the damage that one created as well. I live in California, and I'm pretty close to the dang-on, one of the biggest fault lines, so God forbid it ever decides to activate, we'll be rocking and rolling over here. Yeah, I definitely despise earthquakes. I know. That one's, I get scared if I even feel a little shake. I'm like, oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, even with rough seas, granted, we didn't get like a tsunami, or we'd have been like probably submerged, but like the
Mm.
roughest sea that we had, I remember I was walking on the bulkheads, like it was not the P-way, literally walking on the walls.
Those
So,
I went out to sea for a little while on the Pearl Harbor in I could remember at night it would be just we would be rocking and roll. I mean, you could hear if someone didn't secure the chairs and the table or something, it would just you boom, just slamming against the walls. And I mean, you could literally almost be completely sideways. I mean, it's amazing how much uh abuse those ships can take out there because it gets super rough. I don't think people even imagine.
no,
Even
you
when it
know,
doesn't seem like it's not a bad thing when you're out there, it gets rough.
I get an analogy like because the first 4 years I was a cook, and then the remainder I was a paralegal, a legal man. But the first 4 years when I was that cook on that ship, just to, I remember opening, I guess it was, now I'm already forgetting names of it, but where they kept the pots, the scullery. And I remember opening the door, and I remember thinking of the movie Indiana Jones. Everything was flying all over the place. And
Mm.
I was like, I'm not going in there.
Nice.
Yes, it was. It was
All
pots
kinds of
and
instruments. Like,
bowls,
oh gosh, dang.
flying off the shelf and heading onto the other side of the wall. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. Yep, nope, no, thank you.
Yeah, the sea is rough. I, I I couldn't believe how sideways we could be, and if you weren't secured or holding on to something, you were flying with everything else.
No, absolutely. Um, so I think, that one, I think with all the natural disasters, and of course, here comes like, we're all laughing, and then I'm going to get all sad. But, so I ended up going to, Fallujah, Iraq in 2004. And, that's when I ended up, experiencing, an explosion,
Mm.
in my, where it completely later on crushed my disc,
Oh
on the
wow.
C5, C6 that I have now a titanium plastic
Oh no
in
shit.
my
Yeah.
neck. And reflecting, now knowing, if it was the disc above it, I would have probably been paralyzed completely neck down, like Christopher Reeves from
Oh my
Superman.
gosh. Wow. Wow. I mean, you hit from the blast itself.
Yeah, it I remember it on the side of my face, and then I remember I hit hard, and I remember, I mean, it knocked the wind out of me.
Mm.
But you get up, you first catching your oxygen, trying to inflate your lungs, and you get up and go, but you never realize the magnitude of damage later on.
You're like, fuck, I'm alive, at that
Yeah,
moment, I guess,
the fight or flight.
right.
So, but I mean, and through their experience, just different things that really was hard to digest. um But I mean, and then I guess I always try to put with the sad parts, I try to put, the funny experience one, where there was this one story before we got to Fallujah, because technically my orders were Baghdad.
Mhm.
And and we ended up going to Saddam Hussein's palace, and I remember getting our real orders in this red room, and you could hear a pin drop, knowing that just because who's in charge now tells you where you're going to go, just because your orders say one thing doesn't mean anything. So
Not
we
in the
had
military. You're a total volunteer for everything.
Yes, and I remember they gave us an option because we were being split apart to 4 different areas. Some could go with the Army, some could go with the Air Force, and, my choice was, I'm going with the Marines. I choose to go with the Marines. They had more training than I in this area. So, I was trying to pick my best survival.
Good choice. Uh, you're here to talk about it, so that's good.
Um, but, but in that process, before we got in there to even to Baghdad, I remember this one incident where we were with one of Saddam's, I guess, whatchamacallit, it was like a hunting reserve of some sort.
Yeah,
And
he had all kinds of
oh god, the dude
palaces
like
and
owned, it wasn't even a
God, yeah,
little
it
thing.
was ridiculous. I know we stayed in one of his, palaces.
It's the dude had you can't imagine. It's like you can't even put like no. This is
He
insane.
bought all kinds of everything. I
It was
mean,
like full level.
gold-plated walls and stuff. I mean, I don't think people understand how lavish
Yes,
that dude was.
exactly.
Everybody else lived like crap around him, but yes, I mean, right? I mean, dudes out there, I mean, living in shacks. This guy has palaces, multiples, like
Yes,
multiples.
they're all mansions. Let's just
And
they're
yes, unreal
that's a
mansions.
better way of
Yeah,
saying
like
it. They were
multiple people
all
live there.
mansions, like little home, 1,500 square foot home to him was like everything was ginormous mansions.
Yeah,
He had
he didn't live like in a shack. Let's just say
no, no,
that.
no, by no means. I remember I timed it too when I was in his palace. I walked from one end to the other end, and it took me 10 minutes.
Yeah, the complete compounds. They are like their own little cities and stuff like that. I don't think people understand. I mean, like take our mansions and then just throw gold on it and like all this other
Yeah, exactly. When we're in this reserve, this is the most stupidest thing we probably could have done. We decided to go ahead and watch the movie Black Hawk Down.
Oh god.
And we watched, those like little DVD things that you had, like to watch the little movie.
We
And
always got those like the handmade ones that like they brought us and like someone had filmed it in a theater and you could
yes,
see people getting
yes.
up.
It was like one of those.
Yeah.
And
Like a third party video.
yes. And we're
Yes.
sitting there and we're watching, and this was like during the Somalia scene. And so
Mhm.
all of a sudden, everything we just go boom, boom. And we're like, what the freak? Like all of a sudden you're looking at this little device going, there's no way this little device just became like a 3D.
That loud. It's got some bass.
Yeah, exactly. So we ran out and we were in this tent and we're just kind of looking and the effects of life. It's like if you were going to go out, you didn't want to go out alone.
Yeah.
And then finally when we came to, we realized it was from the other side from us that not when I mean other side was it wasn't very far from us.
Sure.
The light was just shining, so we went and like peeked over and it was our side, and we peeked over and it was a bunch of line of Avon 1 tanks and they were outgoing. And I'm telling you, it's you got your movies, but this is like the ultimate, firepower of strength. And as they're shooting out, they're like literally coming off the ground. And so it was just, of course, that saying is go kick some ass, go do some, but that's just probably one of, I think the one of those ironic things of like, why did we decide to watch this movie during a place of,
Bad timing.
literally. And so it's just, coming back home was definitely and when they at that time they're like, oh, did you see dead bodies? Check. Oh, did you see this? Check. And then it's just like, okay, go back to work now, because they didn't really have a really briefing. It was just like, check the box. All right, now let's get you back to your station, blah 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 blah, or ship. In this case, I was going back to shore, but on my way to a ship. And the biggest thing when it comes to what really like reflecting, because you're thinking like, how could I easily talk about this? It wasn't very easy to talk about before.
Sure.
This is where you had to do, and I'll get to that part. So as time progressed, this is where I was having issues because I didn't know if I was thinking right, thinking crazy, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm fine. And just kept stuffing things away because just like anything, when you come from trauma from childhood, you really just know the aspects of dissociation. And, and you just
suppressing your feelings and
absolutely
compartmentalizing it all. Yep.
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
Yep.
And all you are is like this little ticking time bomb. and this little nuclear, bomb ready to just right now everything's black hole, and then before you know, like anything is going to spit out. And so I went ahead and went to go, seek help. But the downside of it during this time is obviously the stigma of seeking help for mental health. And from there, it was just more like, it was like you got labeled as the scarlet letter on your shoulder saying, hey. And when I went to my next ship, the CO knew before I could get to my next command, they had to approve that I could get, on board that ship. My command approved it. The CO approved it. And then I get an email from the medical officer telling me that if I have an incident on board the ship, he would finish me. And so it didn't like start off really well. And so from that, things were not exactly panning out very well. And it goes back to, that I'm like, okay, I'm okay.
It's
And
because we're so focused on the mission in the military, right? We're very mission specific. We don't got time to feel feelings. We don't got time to work through things, right? It's, like you said, you came back home. It's now we need your ass back to work. We don't got time to send you over here to go see a psychologist and for an hour or whatever. We need you back over here getting the job done,
No, absolutely. And the crazy part about it is, I mean, luckily this is the same medical officer. Thank God wasn't the psychologist. He, that's why I was like, I remember him sitting when I was ready to leave the ship. I remember him sitting me down. And he goes, you know what? I don't think you have any form of PTSD. And I'm thinking to myself, and that's why you're the medical officer? And I really wanted to say, just like, stay in your lane, buddy. Stay in your lane.
I ain't taking no medical advice from you anytime.
But ended up getting that other limb due, and then tried again. I said, I'm fine, I'm good. And and dealing with, and then what sucks is that when they talk about like seeking help or the VA, I mean, the worst thing I probably ended up having where the therapist actually combined my notes with somebody else's. And so
that could go really weird. Anyway.
It made it hard because to get that expunged. But I'm just gonna say is you would think like,
because when they're going over the chart with you, you're like, oh, whoa.
Yeah, it was. I was like,
it was blown away by what they were saying because you're like, I didn't.
Yeah,
where's this coming from?
I know, and that's why I said, I'm like, who are this? You're confusing me with somebody else,
right?
But went back on the ship, and then I was in another deployment, and this time I ended up instead of getting getting red crossed, I ended up getting an email from my father, and the worst thing he could have done is he had to send pictures in this.
Oh no!
I ended up getting an email. He sends the pictures of my sister who ended up plummeting 600 feet to her death under the side of the mountainside.
Oh my gosh.
And so that time period was like, that's when I knew I was not okay. All the shit that was deep down inside, I literally just freaking, if I could have gone
the trigger
mad,
that just
that was it.
Erupted the volcano, so to speak.
Yes, that was probably the time when I'm like, I am not okay. I think I went mad, like literally lost my cup, just everything.
Red, huh?
And I was just like, and what sucked is that they took me off the ship to go to my sister's for my sister's funeral and everything, and everything was surreal. And then the biggest thing is with the military is that not with the time, and I'm hoping they've got better about this, is never really giving you the time to process.
Yeah, no.
And literally a week, and then I had to be back on the ship and continue on with deployment. And so it was one of those where,
I mean, a week time, right? Like, you haven't even begin really the process of even starting to mourn someone. I mean, it takes time actually to even the mourning process doesn't just happen right away sometimes because you're still kind of in shock, right? So by the time you're going back is when you could be literally starting to have some of the most mourning, feelings in your body and stuff like that.
So when I did get back, that's when they were like, okay, we're going to look at separating, because it was a point where I was just like, that's I've got to do something. I can't keep doing this. And at this point, I literally had 3 years remaining of the military for full retirement. But I had to come to terms with myself and be like, okay, I can sit there and play play the smoke screen and say I'm okay, and and get back in there. But I knew that if I stayed, I could not trust myself, and I knew I would be amongst the suicide. I knew it because me and the Green Reaper were like, doing secret handshakes, and he's like sitting there talking to me like, come on over to the other side.
Them demons were deep.
They were bad.
Yeah.
They were really, really bad. And if you can't trust yourself, holy crap. It's like that moment in time. Please, somebody, please, like, you just, and then they talk about saying, when they say, oh, this awareness of suicide. And, it's like, well, I don't understand why these people can't reach out. I'm like, dude, when you're that freaking like, just destroyed it, you can't, you can't get up, you're so completely overwhelmed by everything. And the fact that you think your only answer is to go ahead and commit suicide. And in all honesty, it's like, pick up the phone, tell them, check on them, because if you haven't informed on them, check on them.
Yeah.
And right. and so, and I think for me, that was really like the tipping point. Like, I couldn't do it, was my kids. Where were my kids going to go?
Yeah.
I was a single mom. If I did it, what happens to my children? And so I went ahead and I chose, mind you, I chose, and this is where faith comes into it, and it will always be close to me no matter what. Is I couldn't see anything to the outside, but I had to have that faith that everything would be okay. But I chose to get better, and I chose, all right, I will be separated. Doing this for my family, my children. And I mean, that was probably one of the hardest decisions I think I've ever made in my life. Knowing that so much time was invested, so much responsibility, that I said, I got this, I'm taking the responsibility of serving, doing what I wasn't the parent. Oh, I can't get deployed. I can't, I owned it. And everybody's right to their choices. I'm not condemning anybody or anything to that nature. But this was my personal choice. And but in that process, when I did get out I got my findings, and I ended up, that same week, I ended up getting accepted at Regent University for my psychology for my bachelor's. And then I ended up getting accepted for the vocational rehabilitation program.
Oh, shit.
So all within the same week. You want to see me I was doing a happy dance in the parking lot. And
you needed that win, huh?
And it was, a total stranger at the drive-through. I was so happy. I don't know, you don't know me, but so, but it was, the fact being that everything was going to be okay. And the fact of it was that I was going to go and get the help that I needed in the time that I needed to be able to process things out. And one thing I will say that that ended up knowing I did not make a bad choice of that was when my eldest son told me one day, we were driving in the car, and it was random. And he goes, Mom, I'm glad you chose us.
Oh, wow. You needed to hear that, though, I think.
Oh my gosh, yes. Because it was kind of like, it was giving, when you've invested so much of your life and it's what you know, and it is who it, in one part I struggle with was just who I am. And even, going out of the military, then having to deal with the struggles of like, who the hell am I? And,
And you probably still messed with you too, because you had 3 years remaining, right, before you actually retired. I'm sure that somewhat kind of played a little effect because, even though you made that decision at the time, you still probably had you second guessed every decision you were making, around that point in time.
because I felt like I gave up. I felt that, it was, in all honesty, it just came down to like, I quit because I always wanted to show my kids that, when things get tough, you could do
You
it.
gotta work, yeah.
But I also knew that I was having a war upstairs and I was on the verge of not winning. So I had to make decisions. In all honesty, reflecting, you think in a content, okay, I lost retirement, but I ended up with combat pay for the rest of my life. And the most important thing, what did I gain? I was going from, the possibilities of death to now the opposite, life. What did I gain? I gained my life. And I pursued even my master's degree in industrial organizational psychology. And I even competed in the Invictus Games. So I did the Warrior Games. And then I did the Invictus Games, Prince Harry, and I could say I shaked his hand. For a man that works in the military, he has very still, soft hands. So I don't know if he actually really worked, but anyways.
Officer.
What's that?
Officer.
So, but, and then missing all the camaraderie, but that wasn't in a sense of that missing piece. And I always promote them. I came across Simplify America Fund. And they have been phenomenally in support. It's like, well, if this don't work, try this one. And then came across, hey, how about horses? And with the Jinx McCain program. And so, when this was in 2016. And then I came across it. So by 2018, later that year, we ended up, let me backtrack to hubby. So hubby, I didn't meet him. I got out of the military in 2012 and of October. And I actually didn't meet my husband till almost maybe a year later on 14. He would probably contest that. He says that I felt sorry for him because he was on deployment. And so he says the only reason she talked to me because she felt sorry for me. And we did meet online. So, but and we corresponded while he was deployed in Dubai. And he put in 24 years. And
Dubai is a nice place. I mean, if you're going to be in the Middle East,
I know, right?
Dubai might not be the worst place to be.
But probably too what do you call humid, if anything else.
Yeah.
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 So met him, and then and then of course the first time I remember meeting him, he says, yeah, she tried to run me over. And I'm like, I did not run you over. I was late. And then he says, if I knew that, that's know how the rest of your life would be, late to everything. So so he said, well, I was like, I told him, I was so
he seems like he's a little dramatic, you know what I mean? I'm catching the dramatic vibes.
Hey, but he's my Hercules.
That's awesome.
So, but and then we ended up getting married in 2016. This was like the same year that I ended up participating in the Invictus Games. And so my strongest event was rowing. So I almost got bronze. Everything was like a point, like with that point where it's like that fraction like
Yeah.
across the board, like that
Point
little
zero 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 2 seconds off.
yeah, well, not even it was like it was like we were all I think what was our split time was like shucks 240, I think it was like 245 or 242 or something per stroke. And so we were literally like 0.7, 0.6 point. That was like literally the separation between first and third. We were
Wow.
literally at these and and so I took the fourth for endurance, and then I took the fourth for sprint, and fifth for the endurance. And there was we went against 17 other nations.
Wow.
So it
It's
was
really
really
cool though. Where do they do that? Where they held that?
um they hold it like all over now it's all over the world, whoever
Yeah.
hosts it.
When you were doing it, where did you get to go?
Orlando, Florida.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
So I don't remember where they're doing it now, because I think they were saying they were either going to do it in DC
Oh,
this next go around, and then I can't remember what the alternate was of but I remember seeing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, DC. So but the alternate of the other location, I don't remember what it was. I don't know which one they finally finalized on, but that would have been this upcoming next one. And I do have a Warrior Games teammate that she got her name's Anna Carey, and she ended up, I guess, being one of the runners holding the torch. So she got
oh,
invited to hold as one of the runners to hold the torch.
how
So I
cool.
thought that was really cool.
That is
Uh,
super cool.
yeah, we've all kept in touch.
Nice.
Seeing where everybody's
That kind of
gone.
stuff brings you together and makes you bond when you become a team, right?
It does, is because what we missed while we were
Yeah.
in.
Yep. It was a lot of that camaraderie. Now, a lot of veterans doing this, or is it just a mix of everybody,
What, the Aventus games?
Yeah.
Okay, so Warrior Games is where you're basically going against other branch of services. Navy goes against Army, and vice versa,
Oh,
Marine,
okay.
and
Active duty, or is it veterans too?
it was a mixture. It was a mixture.
Oh shit. Okay.
It was a mixture. And then if you go for the Invictus, you're Team USA. It's a collaboration of all Army,
Just
Marines, Air Force,
wow.
all on one
The
team.
best
And
of the
it
best, huh?
yes, and for Team USA. So
Mostly
that
Marines. I'm just
what's that?
I said mostly Marines.
So yeah, they had special forces on there too, but
Wow,
SOC.
that's super cool.
So but that was a really cool experience. And then going with the horses back in 2018, my husband and I went ahead and got our first two horses.
Hmm.
And I actually recently posted a memory of where we went to. It was called the Dixie Challenge. And it was crazy to think that not having a crystal ball of where I would be today. It was just kind of cool. 6 years later, you're like, whoa. You started you went there, the horses, and knowing what the really horses like just they could do. And then my husband and I started out with two, and 2020 we ended up with 10 horses.
Wow. You loved it.
Because it was, to my husband and I, this is what helped us. And this
Just the
was
relationship with the animal type
it's
things. I mean,
everything, because for me, I had serious anger issues.
mhm.
And like going back, talking about where I didn't have time to process for my sister's death. I remember shortly after getting out, I went to go see my sister, because I was the oldest of six,
Mhm.
and went to go see my sister and my other sister. And we went and bought these seeds, and they were like perennial seeds. And we went to the site, that the mountain that took her life, we threw those seeds over the side, and they took.
Oh wow, that's so
And
cool.
to this day, you'll see this strip of flowers that just
They
spreads
just
on the
keep Oh wow, they just keep blooming and
yes,
oh my
yes.
gosh.
So the
That's
mountain
so
that took
cool.
her life, it was now the mountain giving life.
Oh, wow.
S
That's awesome.
So it was that time to be able to just finally, like, honor her.
Yeah.
and in a place that you just don't have that, the opportunity. And if I know everybody processes the grief differently,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just having that moment of saying, what is something that you would love to do? And hey, I'm going on leave because I want to do this, or I'm going to go, on this top of this mountainside. And, just to have that moment, because it represents what that time, um, but going with the horses, there were all those things that I was able to, deal and process and just think things through. And even with like the aspects of scripture, and really finding that other side, because I was so like that right side of the brain of just not feeling, and just thinking like foreign, mayday, mayday, and just thinking the aspects of feelings. I was like, oh, I don't know about those.
Stay
And
away.
but being with the horses and just feeling the sense of just safety and support, and like the horses, there was no judgment zone, as in them telling them my story and sitting and talking. They don't, just like sit there going, ooh, I'm going to go to the herd and tell so and so and so and so. So, you know, this is, there's no titles, just,
Yeah.
get to be completely authentic and transparent. And that was the other thing. And I had a lot of healing to do, a lot of loss, a lot of, um,
Trauma.
trauma, just from, everything, and being able to finally just like, to process things and to understand things better.
Yeah, because
And
you probably had to go through your childhood too, right? I mean,
oh
you
my
came from
gosh, what? That's why do you think I had to have 10 horses? I had an overhaul. We had a lot of work.
That was for childhood trauma. This one's for that. I got a horse for every trauma.
We had a lot of work to do.
Oh my gosh.
In that process too, is that having time to process things is what I felt like. I didn't feel protected during my whole time. I did not feel protected, but having time to process, I was like, holy crap, you know, God did have a hand in everything. As much as I could have something happened in the fire, these disasters, something that, things that could have, happened with me childhood, and, having, the incident with the rape and all, things could have gone even worse. But yet he had a hand of protecting, and that to me was like, that was so like, just regardless of anything, there was still a hand of protection. And maybe some people, that they
It's
could
like you
see
had an
it.
epiphany about it. You're just like, he's been here with me this whole time, no matter even when you thought you were probably alone.
Exactly. But it gave time to, as I would tell people, is with the horses, stop and smell the roses, because you're so inundated, like you're wearing blinders, that you don't see what's in the left of you or the right of you. And before you know it, those little small things, the little things that matter, you won't have those beautiful stories.
You couldn't have said it better, because I think in the way our world is today, we're especially now, right, where both parents in the household got to work and everybody's just so go that they don't got enough time to process things, to smell the roses, to see the finer things in life. It took a while for me even as well to get myself out of the 9 to 5 job. And when I finally went 100% disabled, it gave me that time to kind of slow down, and I started seeing things that I've always been around the whole time, but I could see the details in them that I never was seeing before, right? Because I took the time to actually stop and allow myself to process and look through things. Before that, I was just like, give it to me, and I couldn't process it all.
Because we were so geared and trained to be task driven. Accomplish the
Yep.
next task. An
Yep.
incident occurred, stuff it down, move next, get the next
Next
mission,
mission.
next call, and then
Yep.
you just keep going forward. And you keep going forward, you're going to hit a complete wall.
At some point in time, absolutely. We're going to get in that pit.
The wall or the pit, and you won't win unless you come to saying it's okay to be not okay. But also that the biggest one is I need to go take time for me, because if I take time for me, then, and especially in a family, and that's another thing with our program with Mended Sparrow, is we really emphasize the relationship piece. And people would be like, "Oh, I just want to go and ride the horses." And I go, "Well," I said, "we're here to build relationships. We're not here to build one night stands."
Right. That's good saying.
So give it to an adult level.
Right.
That's why I do adults. Little kids, I'm like,
yeah,
that's not my wheelhouse. So tell it how it is, and that's more my wheelhouse.
I love it. Yes, we need that though, because people, man, it's amazing how sensitive of a world we've become, right? And so sometimes you just got to be direct, and sometimes we need that directness because everybody else goes around it.
It's directness. It's setting boundaries.
Yes.
It's it's a whole slew of things that and the big thing I think for us, we a little bit have an issue with Mended Sparrow is sometimes it's that stigma that has been so stereotyped that they associate horses going, oh, it's it's therapy. I don't want anybody taking into my soul, and I'm like, dude, like literally, I am not a mental health clinician. I'm not even licensed. Think of peer support. Think of, I'm a coach. Think of, there is a lot of information out there about PTSD, trauma, all that stuff. Or PTSI, post-traumatic injury, where they're trying to transition that to different terminology. But there's, we bring it to being the aspects of, okay, you got all this information. Now let's work on life skills. That time that you didn't really able to process, whether it could be through, the aspects of trust, or people think, oh, I'm a great communicator. Of all of the activities and sessions we've done, fail. We have a baseline to work with.
Yes.
Because the horse is a really great barometer in regards of going, the horse just called you out.
The horse knows, yeah.
But in that process too is a couple 3 years ago now, they made it where they gave a standard terminology to say like equine assisted services. Now, yes, we provide equine assisted learning, which entails professional or personal development, as well as education piece and organizations, which the very popular term is team building. So funny seeing everybody we have one where you have the option. It's kind of a competition of how many points you can get. And the top point is do the activity without the horse being haltered. And I always love when they choose a horse and I'm like, and they go, oh, let's take the halter off. And I'm like, wait for it. And, that horse is like, boom, bye, see you later. And, and I'm like, well, your teammate just took off. Gotta go after.
Better go get your teammate.
So, but, and we utilize it like parallels as teaching points and things to that nature. And then we have the traditional equine psychotherapy. That one we would contract out. We don't have that for this first year. We opened our doors this past February, and we've already provided 94 services.
Wow.
And this week we have scheduled for 16 people.
Oh, wow. Is that the most?
In one week? Yes.
In one, 16. Yeah. Wow.
And there's 16 different people.
That's amazing. Now, how are they getting word about this? Are they hearing it from others or?
So, um, as I learned on social media, what not to do, especially with Facebook.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things, lesson learned, because you didn't come with the whole playbook. And so I thought that I was like, this is when I was trying to put out, hey, volunteer opportunity. And I told Facebook, I said, okay, I want, people who can reply more. Oh, okay. I'll put on people who can reply more. And I said, or, definitely will reach out and respond. Man, this thing went out to like the Netherlands. The guy thought I was trying to make a boat. And then it went out to like Washington State. Guy was like, oh, yeah, I
Oh
want to
man.
volunteer. Ooh, that's a little too far for me. I'm in like Virginia. I'm like, come on, Facebook.
Oh,
So I had to get smart and go, okay, my radius is 50 miles. So I had to really tell you,
it
but I'm
really
excited.
puts you out there.
So I've gotten a little better with that. But what we do is like either advertising or saying an event. And then we found that people of our followers, they'll end up sharing our page saying, now I'm going to try to get better with the whole trying to put it on our website thing, but it's like a one stop. We have somebody who does the website. So I'm going to get all the information we need definitely to now bring some updates to it. But we are, one way is social media or people passing the information along into their groups, as well as also the good old fashioned word of mouth.
Look at those eyes. Gosh.
We've had all these horses since they were babies, 4 months old.
Wow. Oh, look at that one. It's pretty.
So we have 2 sets of siblings. These 2, the mare that you see to the left and the top one, the buckskin looking color, these 2 are brother and sister.
Wow.
And then if you go up further, the 2, the one on the left and the one on the bottom, if you move it down just a little bit, Tartanian, and then Leah. Whoops, you moved too far.
Oh, too far. Sorry. Yep.
Yep. This guy, the Overo right here, with the blue eyes, those 2 are full brothers.
Ah.
Then we have Leonidas helping with the pitchfork. If we could just
Yeah.
teach the horses to pick up their own poo, I know I'd be famous in that training.
Ah, yeah, let's have their names. Maximus Peanut.
He's
You got
literally
little
the most,
nicknames or what? Or
yeah,
he has one.
they all have got their personalities.
Bjorn. Gretchen. Boss. She's a boss one, huh?
Yeah. She is wise for a horse her age. We had a veteran who was hit by a drunk driver.
Ooh,
And
Santa.
she got on her back, but she stood still like a statue as she was, I mean, the individual was having trouble getting on, but she positioned herself to better get herself where the veteran was to get on her back.
Wow.
So just definitely, I guess you could say.
So do you kind of match the horses up with different people when they come? You kind of know the personalities of each horses by now, I gotta imagine, and you kind of, or do you guys kind of just let them choose their horse?
So what we do is, if it's an activity we let them choose their horses. However, we're not set in our sessions. If say the person says, like, hey, what do you want to work on today? And it's like, well, I want to work on patience. And I'm like, I got the horse for you. So, so we can, if they want to work on patience, we definitely have an idea of which horse that would teach that.
Right. Okay.
And then we have where they just said, I'm having a hard time.
Is that the donkey? Did you guys have a donkey in there? Or
what? I'm really tempted at getting a donkey. I really am, but
should. Oh man,
I'm tempted.
amazing.
I haven't right now. We're kind of like, I look at it this way. The animals we have 10 horses. Gretchen, which you saw, boss mare, she actually has a baby on the way.
Oh wow.
So, and then we have
Did
3
you
dogs.
guys get her, someone to come in and do that?
Actually, the baby's daddy was the very first pitcher, the one that had the pitchfork.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's the baby daddy.
Okay, shoot.
So, but we had gelded him earlier this year. And but now I've come to this conclusion that at first we were, having a little issue of him being in any of the herd. after we gelded him. And I've come to the conclusion where people, like people, they just don't like other people.
Yeah.
This was a horse that just doesn't like other horses. He's like
No
totally cool
kidding.
being by himself. I'm like, you know what, dude? If that
That's
was
your
how it
world.
rocks, we'll go for it.
Nice. So he's just, so I want my own stable. I want my own area.
So, but
Great.
no, we're not constringent on the type of programs or sessions that we have. Now, if it's like a group 8-week course, then yes, there's some sort of theme to it. We have
Are you
a
guys
couple.
sticking mainly to horses? Is that you guys going to do? Or are you guys going to expand out to getting other type of livestock, or is it just going to be horses?
What's the restriction right now is land. If we have more land, then we can definitely expand out. We've got some property that's about 6 acres behind us, and then there's another 5 or 6 beside us. However, we're not in the financial position to do that because our county will tax the tar out of us. Even though we are a nonprofit,
they come after you because they're looking at you as an entity or someone they think you're a business.
So we just, for right now, because literally everything is out of pocket for my husband and I would, trying to sit down and would love to do these, these grants and everything. But obviously with any grants, they want to see numbers.
Yeah.
And so it's just at the same time building traction. That's the big one of like the first year you're trying to build traction. And
so you guys opened it up this year, as in 2024, or?
Yeah, we opened it up this year. For the Virginia and all that other SSC, it was in May of 2022. However, August of 2023 is when we had our IRS approval. And so along with everything else that goes along with it, with the state being able to solicit for donations and tax exemption for sale items. However, the county itself is a whole other animal. Sore subject.
Yeah. I see that. Noted.
As that old Bambi movie says, if you can't say anything nice, or from Thumper, don't say anything at all.
That's right. My mom told me.
But just from that, we definitely, we're not, how we do our program too is that we do not track like paper trail or anything like that. So if we do any journaling, they take the journal with them. Because then it goes into the whole HIPAA thing. That goes into, we are not licensed clinicians, but coaches, peer support. So they can come here with not worrying about, hey, their security clearance being, questionable, or just themselves, because we've had people come out from 2 hours away, coming out for our services because they just really didn't want anybody to know that they were here. And so it gives that safety net of somebody really trying to, seek their own personal growth, but just having that nature aspect. And then we have access to 800 acres in the back with permission.
Oh, nice.
So
is that like riding in trails and stuff like that you go through?
Next year we're going to look at that. The insurances, once person is on their back, is a whole other avenue.
Oh gosh, yeah. Liabilities.
With equine, it's a whole other. It's not that simple. So, but
I guess you would think so, right?
We're hoping, is like I said, with donations. We're still, if anybody wants to donate, please go to our website. We're definitely in need of veterinary services for the horses. And so as well as hay, definitely in need, because we are in the process.
All them horses.
Yes, because in the winter, it's about 75 round bells to get them through. And 75 round bells are about 850 to 900 pounds. And we go through about 6 round bells a month. So a lot of hay.
You guys got a pretty good storage for all that stuff?
We have a hay barn. But the big one I think we're trying to pursue is we need a vehicle that can, like, was it a 1 ton? Don't quote me on this. I'm like, but as my husband says, the 1 ton in order, because we have somebody that was willing to give us, but let us borrow their, I guess, 30-foot flatbed to haul this hay.
Yeah,
But
it's
we're
gonna be a
in
lot.
definite need of trying to transition to get a 1 ton to be able to move all that. So, but again, it's one thing of having the vehicle, but then just like the typical gas stuff. So it's in order to maintain these horses yearly, is close to $40,000.
Wow.
So it's not
And
a,
that's probably with them being healthy, right? I mean,
yes.
no issues, because that's a thing too. They get sick, they have issues. I'm sure you have to get vets out once in a while, or
Yeah, no, I
just
mean, the traditional maintenance, like just for example, or for teeth floating, for 10 horses and doing coggins, and that alone, I mean, because we do our own shots, we're allowed to in the state of Virginia. I mean, shots alone, we have to do 2 sets of them a year, are was it around 1,700. And then the teeth float, and this is just maintenance, and the teeth floating is close to 4,000.
wow. And yeah, I mean, you got to probably so you guys don't do a lot of trail riding and stuff like that. Once you guys do, I
If
imagine
we do the
that's
trail
a whole
riding,
nother thing with
then
the
it's going to
hoofs
go up
and
even higher.
yeah, because now you got to maintain their hoofs and
Oh
all
no, they
those
still
other.
get hooves. They still their
Oh,
hooves
that
are. I didn't
no
even
matter
calculate
what,
that in there.
yeah, because
So
that's
you're looking,
how
yeah,
often do you have to do that too?
that's every 6 weeks. And
Holy
so
shit.
it's every 6 weeks, and then so you're looking at an average of 4,000 per horse to adequately care for them.
Wow.
So, and that's not even really putting aside for, because colic surgery is like 15,000 for one horse.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah, so you figure with the insurances, and
But
then the
please do not
insurance is
get
what
the
gets you.
colic.
What's that?
Please don't get colic, shit.
Well, no, that's why we live on the property. So we're like, if something happens, that it's like, I guess you could say we're the 24/7 residents. We see what goes on
Right,
and
you
whatnot.
can catch it pretty quick.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, but we see, regardless of the cost, I mean, our services are free to the population we serve. Um, so
Yeah, kind of run
that's
us through how that actually works. So, if someone was seeking out, your guys' services, is it a day thing? Is it a week thing? How does it kind of run us through it?
so they'll either contact us like through our contact at mendedsparrow.org. And what we'll do is we'll invite them out, and see as to, what they want,
Just
what
a
they're
general
looking for. We don't,
discussion. Yeah.
yeah, we don't sit there and dive into, their life or whatever
Right.
else like that. Um, we've had ones that are very transparent, as to saying, hey, I'm, dealing with this, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah. But, that's why they're out here. And we just say, hey, we've got this program coming up, or this program coming up. Or if you want, we can do one-on-ones. But it's through I don't like doing conversations literally like completely solely on via email. I
Right.
prefer having that one-on-one. They come out, they meet the
Way more
horses.
personable. Yeah.
Yes, they come out, they meet the horses, and the beauty of it is they can come back as many times as they want to.
Oh, awesome. So it's kind of as a needed, like really would love to go spend some time with the horses today. They just call you kind of type of thing. And you guys have like a set of hours typically you guys run? Is it 7 days a week?
They give us a call, and we just see as far as where is it, to plug them in for that time period. But usually my Mondays are my admin days, or this would not happen for us. So I kind of gear catching up on admin stuff, but for the most part, we try, like, even with, like, say for first responders, we try to cater to their shift work.
Right.
So even if we had, say, they wanted to do like the couples thing, we could cater to the shift of that, and instead of
So you
them
guys are
being,
really flexible, I would say. Even
we are, and then probably recently we've been starting to get volunteers. So being able to train up.
work within those
Mhm,
parameters as well. Yeah.
mhm.
That's awesome.
So, and we really emphasize on the aspects of just other additional peer support people, um, through that, but obviously not just somebody just there's a lot of screening
They got to
goes on.
know what they're getting themselves
Yes,
into, right?
exactly.
Because you guys have a purpose, you guys have a mission, and you need someone that's going to fit into that mold,
Yes.
right?
So
Like,
there is this very selective process. We don't just
sure.
say, "Oh yeah, here you go." But if
Yeah.
somebody really
Oh, you
holds
love horses? Come on in.
Oh, that's a whole
Because though you got those wild ones that just love their horses.
Well, we get and just like raising kids, everybody has their different, ways of what they think is the correct parenting. So that flows in the aspects of horses too. So we've been, I guess our known reputation is these horses get top quality care. We had an old man down
Some
the
bougie
street.
horses, huh?
Yeah. we had an old man that used to be a bronc rider. And he said that when he died, he wanted to be reincarnated as one of our horses.
Well, hey, that's a good thing.
So, but
That's great.
knowing the treatment and we look at it as how the horses are treated is knowing how you guys really will be treated.
Right.
With utmost care.
Yep. And you guys, obviously those horses are very instrumental to what they're doing as well. So if they're not treated well, they're definitely not going to help out with what you need them to do. Right. I mean, horses, they understand things. They know when they're being mistreated by someone. They have feelings. I feel like the horses are very smart, intelligent animals. And, I think that's probably why it's so therapeutic for people, because the horse can feel your feelings. I feel like sometimes, right?
They react. They would
Yeah.
definitely react if you're being too forceful, or you don't really know boundaries.
Right. Because they're pack animals. They genuinely, out in the wild, they have packs, so they all kind of know their pecking order and how to work in a community, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, with horses, they have what they have is a herd dynamic. Like they're considered prey, where for dogs and them, that would be where they would be in packs.
Right. Yeah. I
and-
guess. Yeah. I know. Well, I'm a Marine, just so you guys.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
My terminology sometimes gonna be a little off.
No, you're completely fine. You're completely fine. No,
I knew when I said it, you started saying herd. I was like, yeah, that didn't sound right. Pack of wolves, pack of dogs. Yeah, like
if a horse was a predator, heck
shit,
no.
Man, no, that would be really bad.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you're thinking of Velociraptor.
A little too big. Yeah, hell yeah.
No.
Yeah, right.
Especially when we have two of them that knows how to turn the key to the mule and turn it on.
Oh, see, yeah, these things they're intelligent.
They can open the doors if you don't have.
Yeah, we don't need them feasting on us. No way.
No, we don't want predator. Prey. Preys are much better.
Packs of horses. Gosh dang it.
Yeah, no, that in a nutshell, that's it's and one thing to know that you're like, and I know, and I'm going to speak for myself because I don't want to speak for my husband, but for me, I know this is my purpose. It's not work at all. Even though you figure, oh my gosh, how can this not be work? 10 horses running a nonprofit. But I literally get excited for the day going, what can I do to accomplish? For the mission.
That's a good thing. Yep.
And then on it, it's like I'm doing it for free. So
you gotta love it. You definitely, there's gotta be some love there.
But it's the big one is paying it forward.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to talk about all this stuff. It's been a real pleasure in getting to know you and what you guys got going on. I'm going to add you guys to my website as well. So it's just another place that people can go click on your guys' website to get to you guys and, try to, support them. If you guys want to donate and you're looking for somewhere to donate, this would be a great organization to donate to. They're out there helping veterans are trying to get themselves started. It's a hard thing to do. It's a very selfless act. And I appreciate what you guys are doing, though, because we need it. We need more of you guys, and we just don't have enough, right? And so it's awesome to have people that are selfless and still want to work, because you could be stuck in your own little self-pity and stuff like that, but you don't want other people to go through the struggles you've gone through, or give them an out, right? And I mean, because that's the way I look at it too. I went through many years of failed relationships and things like that, because I wasn't getting myself better. I wasn't allowing myself to get better. But having great things like this, and not everybody may not like horses or whatever, but there's other organizations out there for everybody. But if you do, reach out to Mended Sparrow, and go out there, go give it a try. You're not going to be sitting in a chair one-on-one with the psych, right? You guys are out enjoying and having conversations, and sometimes that's the best therapy ever. It's just having a basic conversation, right? And then getting to know other people, and just having that camaraderie again, and that sense of feeling of, like you have a family again. But is there anything you would like to say, or anything that you may have left out and didn't get to talk about?
I think in the beginning, I did not answer why Mended Sparrow and behind it, and I think a little story behind. Well, with our barn, we have a lot of sparrows. And so they kept taking residence, and I was like, okay, it was me against the sparrows. All right.
That's an odd one. Me against the sparrows. You don't hear that every day.
But I actually, these guys, it was just like, what is with these guys? And as I got to, there was this one sparrow. We ended up closing off the feed room and the tack room. And these sparrows, I'm like, oh my gosh, are they like part woodpecker? Because they poked a hole through like the side of the panel.
Oh,
and
God.
then, and I'm thinking to myself, so I was reading up on the sparrows. And they're known across the world, not only in a spiritual factor, about, like even we're talking about with Jesus and the sparrow about not having anxiety and worry. And if you could take care of, sparrows, why worry? He could take care of you. And then the other aspects around the world where they see them as joy, community, happiness. And I think the big one that really sticked out was the fact of resilient. They were for so small, they were resilient. And not only that, they thrived on community. And so right now we've got a bunch of pallets that are outside our hay barn, ready for the big haul of all the hay bales. I'm telling you, I think it turned into an apartment for sparrows. Like they seriously thought, like, oh look, they made an apartment for us of all of this.
We got a high rise.
Yeah, they do. And I'm like sitting there, like they're sitting there like chilling and talking, da 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 da. And I'm like, what is it? You guys are something else. So I came to terms that I was like, you know what? It's your guys' home too, because you guys were fighting to say, nope, we're here. And
if you can't beat them, join them. You became a sparrow lover.
But these little, something so small, they were determined to fight for their family. They were determined to, make stake of their home. And I learned that they mate for life.
Oh, wow.
So that relational piece.
Damn, I did not know that.
I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Wow, that's kind of almost sad in a way. Like I didn't know that.
It's these little small things that you thought were going to be a nuisance, and it's like life. It's like the small things, the little things, and then they end up being the big things that can actually teach you something.
It's crazy, yeah, because I'm sure at first they were a nuisance for you, just like because bird poop probably everywhere,
Oh, and they were hitching rides on the backs of the horses.
They were like, "This is our house. Welcome." Oh, that's crazy. That's
So
awesome. So Mended Sparrow from
mhm.
the Sparrows, huh? And I love it. I mean, you actually really did your homework on them, and I didn't know so much about them either, but that makes your name even much more meaningful.
And then the beauty of our tagline is, "A new direction is never far away."
I love that. You guys came up that with that year on your own, huh?
Yeah. So it's just
Nice.
again, it's having time to process things.
That's I love that. Um, so what's the future look like for you guys? You know, what would you ultimately what would be the end game for you guys? What would be like the ideal end game?
Mended Sparrow being able to support itself, knowing it no longer we gave it its jump start and it's gonna be
Sure.
able to take care of
Maintain
itself.
itself.
Yes, and probably in the future is be able we have 10 horses, and in the future, we will double to 20.
Awesome. That's great. So
And
you guys the vision is keep on going and
mhm,
let this thing be a legacy.
right, and, still going even when I'm naturally of causes, of in my time. It's just it's giving back and the whole paying it forward. It's, just giving your whole heart and in hopes that for other people and they, their journey, their story.
I love it. Absolutely love what you guys are doing. And once again, I appreciate you coming on, telling your story, talking about Mended Sparrow. I know you talked about some things in there that are probably not that easy to talk about, but it's always necessary to kind of talk about these things because you never know who out there is listening and can learn from our messages, right? Because everybody out there has a story. We all come from a childhood. Everybody has childhood trauma. Everybody has, some kind of thing that they've been through. It's more or less how you process it and deal with it, and how you end up coming out of it on the other side. And now you guys are paying it forward and trying to help others not to get to that level. I love it. But once again, thank you so much for coming on, and hope you have an amazing day. And if you ever need anything, please reach out. You guys are always welcome to come on. If you guys got some new things going on you want to share with the world, let's share with a couple hundred people. Come on in, and come tell your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and see you on the next one. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye bye. All right, friends and family. Well, that's going to wrap it up for another great one. And like I said, we're getting ready to wrap up this season 2. And we will be kicking off season 3 January 9th of 2025. And we'll be doing some more great interviews with amazing human beings out there that are still doing some great things. Once again, if you guys ever looking for something to donate to, go to mendedsparrow.org. Go check them out. See all the great things they're doing. If your heart desires, please help them out. And they're helping others as well. And if you guys are struggling out there, hey, please reach out to someone. And if you guys aren't hearing from people that you normally hear from, reach out to them. And there's also the Crisis Lifeline. You can call 988-PRESS-1. But you know how we say it on the show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking it. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Urgh.